The crowd at the plaza had fallen into the kind of silence that didn't need to be demanded. It simply happened, the way wind stops before a storm. The tomb guard marched his razor-sharp steps along the mat, echoing like a metronome of honor. No one ever expected anything unusual here, not at the tomb of the unknowns. But today, something impossible was about to break the stillness. A small boy, maybe 4 years old, stood near the rope line, gripping his mother's hand with fingers trembling from effort. His legs were thin, braced with metal supports that had gleamed in the morning sun. For 2 years, he hadn't walked without help, not even a step. His mother leaned down, whispering to him, "You don't have to try now, sweetheart, only if you want to." But the boy was staring at the guard, not afraid, not confused. Something about the silent precision mesmerized him. He loosened his mother's hand, and then, to everyone's astonishment, he put one foot forward. His first unassisted step in nearly 3 years. The crowd gasped softly. His mother froze, hand over her mouth, tears already breaking before she could stop them. The boy swayed, struggling to find balance. And that's when it happened. The tomb guard stopped mid-stride. Protocol said he shouldn't, ever. Yet he turned his head sharply, fully, toward the child. Then he broke formation. Gasps rippled through the gathered visitors. A tomb guard breaking stride was like watching a statue blink. It simply didn't happen. Every movement these guards made was bound tightly in tradition, precision, and unbroken discipline. They did not flinch. They did not pause. They did not acknowledge anything except their sacred duty. Yet this guard had pivoted, full attention locked on the wobbling boy. The sergeant of the guard, standing at a distance, stiffened in shock. Even he didn't speak. Not yet. Because something in the air told everyone that what they were witnessing wasn't disrespect. It wasn't a disturbance. It was something rare. The boy took another shaky step. His braces clicked faintly. His arms hovered out beside him, fingers trembling as he fought for balance. His mother whispered desperate encouragement between sobs, torn between wanting to catch him and wanting to let him try. The guard took one slow step away from the mat. The crowd had no idea what to do. Stay silent, cheer, move in, back away. So they stood frozen, watching a moment that felt stitched together by fate itself. Finally, the guard spoke, his voice deep, steady, echoing through the marble corridor of silence. "Steady, young man." Not a command, not protocol, a gift. The boy's eyes widened, and for the first time, he smiled. And then, as if the universe itself leaned forward, he took another step. And another. Each one stronger, more confident, drawn forward by the soldier's unwavering gaze. The guard broke into a slow kneel, lowering himself so his eyes were level with the boy's, still maintaining dignity, but no longer bound by the rigidness of his station. Behind the boy, his mother whispered through her tears, "You're walking. You're really walking." And then the sergeant finally moved. The sergeant of the guard stepped forward, his polished shoes striking the stone with the crisp authority that made even the birds go quiet. His face was carved with discipline, but his eyes showed something else: conflict, uncertainty, disbelief. The tomb guard, still kneeling, did not flinch. He remained perfectly composed, still focused on the small boy taking step after miraculous step toward him. The sergeant opened his mouth to speak, perhaps to correct, to question, to restore protocol, but then the boy stumbled. A sharp wobble, a brace clinked too loudly, his arms flailed just enough to make the entire crowd inhale all at once. Before anyone could react, the tomb guard extended one steady, white-gloved hand. Not touching, not yet, but ready, inviting, encouraging. The boy steadied himself and took one more courageous step, landing just within reach of that waiting hand. His small fingers wrapped around the guard's glove. A gasp, then silence. The guard held firm, gently supporting the child, allowing him to stand fully upright on his own legs. No one moved. No one spoke. It was as if the world had paused to witness courage in its purest form. Then the sergeant's voice cut through the silence, but softer than anyone expected. "Corporal, continue. Not reprimand, not rebuke. Permission." The crowd around them began to tremble with emotion. Some covered their mouths, some blinked through tears. Even the soldiers nearby straightened with a different kind of pride, not for perfect discipline, but for perfect humanity. The little boy beamed, as if he had conquered a mountain. The guard gently nodded to him. "Very well done, soldier." No one knew how far the boy could go, but he wasn't finished yet, and neither was the moment. The boy held the guard's gloved hand with the determination of someone who had waited his whole life for this moment. His legs trembled, but they didn't fail him, not now. Not with the entire world seemingly holding him upright with hope. The guard rose slowly, still holding the boy's hand. Even standing, he moved with a mixture of ceremonial dignity and human gentleness. His pristine uniform contrasted sharply against the small, fragile hand clutching his. The sergeant stepped aside, an unmistakable gesture of acknowledgement. If protocol had boundaries, compassion had just rewritten them. For the first time in decades, the path before the tomb was not only a line for a soldier's march, it became a pathway for a child's courage. Visitors instinctively shifted, creating a wide corridor of space. Some lowered their phones, realizing this wasn't just something to record, it was something to witness. The guard looked down at the boy. "Ready?" he asked quietly. The boy nodded, jaw set with fierce concentration. Together, they took one step. Click. Another. Click. The braces on the boy's legs echoed like small, determined drum beats. Each step was steadier than the last, lifted by pride, by an adrenaline, by the powerful sense that something sacred had opened for him. His mother walked behind them, one hand over her heart, tears falling freely. But this time, they weren't tears of fear or worry. They were victory tears. Halfway down the walkway, the boy let go of the guard's hand. The guard didn't reach to catch him. He stood at attention, not with rigid duty, but with reverence, watching the boy march on his own. The crowd felt the shift, something bigger than tradition, bigger than ceremony, bigger than the moment itself was taking shape. The sergeant murmured softly, almost to himself, "He's walking the most honored path in the country and earning it." The boy kept moving forward, toward a place few ever stepped, toward a moment he unknowingly trained for all his life. And when he reached the final step, the guard snapped to attention. For him. The boy stopped at the very end of the walkway, breathing hard but standing tall, taller than he ever had. His small chest rose and fell under the strain, under the miracle, under the weight of a moment he didn't fully understand, but somehow commanded. The tomb guard, now back in perfect formation, saluted him. A full, sharp, flawless salute, the kind reserved for heroes, for sacrifice, for the honored dead. Yet today, for a little boy who had walked for the first time, the sound of the glove snapping crisply against the soldier's brow echoed in the still air. The crowd felt the impact of it, a single gesture that said more than words could ever hold. The boy blinked confused for a moment. No one had ever saluted him before. Then, shyly, clumsily, he raised his hand and returned the gesture. It wasn't perfect, his fingers bent, his elbow crooked, but it was sincere. And somehow, it was enough to make even the toughest veterans watching swallow hard. His mother finally stepped forward, kneeling beside him, her arms wrapping him in an embrace filled with pride and disbelief. "You did it," she whispered into his hair. "You really did it." The sergeant approached the guard quietly. "You know there'll be reports," he murmured. The guard kept his eyes forward. "Yes, sir." "You know you broke protocol." "Yes, sir."